The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here today. My name is Ian Campbell, and I appreciate you joining us for Curing the Consultant's Dilemma, Growing Your Business by Automating Your Sales and Marketing. Today we're going to talk a little bit about what I call the Consultant's Dilemma, and I'm pretty sure it's a relatively common term, but it's something that a lot of consultants, solo entrepreneurs, small business owners, etc., tend to deal with on a pretty regular basis, but don't necessarily have a way to address, to fix on their own. And so a lot of consultants and a lot of small business owners that I know just kind of have gotten to a point where they just ended up kind of accepting it as part of doing business. And so what I'm hoping to show you today is that it doesn't necessarily have to be. It is actually there are ways to address it, and ways that you can do so very, very easily. Kind of just to start out, what we'll be going through is, again, we'll be talking a little bit about the consultant's dilemma. We'll be describing it to you, my take on it anyway, and how it impacts us as business owners, and then talk a little bit about some ideas for kind of our quote cure for that dilemma. These are things that you can do regardless of whether you're using a software platform or just trying to do this all on your own. Of course, we'll be talking a little bit about how using a software platform can make this a lot easier as well. So if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to ask them. There's a questions module there in your GoToWebinar panel that you should be seeing on the side, and there is you have the ability to actually raise your hand as well if you would like to ask something as well. So if anything comes up, please by all means just let me know, and we'll address questions as they come, and of course we'll have some time for questions at the end as well. So moving on, kind of talk a little bit about, just to kind of introduce me. I am, again, my name is Ian Campbell, and I'm president of Mission Suite, and we'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute. I was a marketing consultant for 15 years, and so I spent a lot of time in the consultant's role, in the small business owner's role. I went through times when I had employees, people who were responsible for business development, people who were responsible for managing my project work and whatnot, and I would expand and contract and expand and contract based on the work that was coming in. But the point being is that I've been a small business owner, I've been a solo consultant and a solopreneur before, so I've been in those shoes, and I can kind of talk a little bit about what that looks like, and how how being a consultant can provide its own specific challenges here. And so the point being is that I live the consultant's dilemma. I did this, so I went through this on a pretty regular basis. Now, a little bit about Mission Suite really quickly. It's a sales and marketing automation software. It's built for small and mid-market businesses and small business owners, right? So it's a great tool for that. It combines CRM, marketing automation, inbound lead generation, and email marketing all into one system. And then finally, it automates your business development efforts, and that's the key role here that our software plays. And so again, why we'll talk a little bit more about how what it can do as we move forward. Now, I'm going to guess that this sounds familiar. This is kind of where you're starting from sort of the status quo, if you will. Right now, you're to kind of describe the consultant's dilemma. You're spending a ton of time developing new business. You're going out, you're drinking coffee, you are having lunch meetings, breakfast meetings, and shaking plenty of hands, collecting business cards, every now and then making a couple phone calls. Finally, you get a client, and all of a sudden you spend so much time working on that client that your business development efforts either stop or slow to a crawl. And then when that client's business is done, you don't have anything to replace it with, because all your business development efforts have slowed down so much, so that now all of a sudden you've got to start all over again. And what this does is it ends up creating this roller coaster of business, and there's no clear trajectory to move forward on. So realistically speaking, and I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, I'm not going to ask for you to pony up on anything, but does this sound, I mean, to ask yourself the question, does this sound like you? And now how does this impact you? So first of all, like I said, you go through this roller coaster of business, and now you watch your client work ebb and flow, and you watch your income do the same with it, right? And as a result, you have no ability to grow, because as you're scrambling to get the next piece of business and working on it and going up and down, you have no ability to grow. And all of a sudden you start thinking, oh, well, maybe I need to hire other people, and which is what used to happen to me quite often. And I would hire people, and that would actually hinder me even more, because then I would have to spend a lot of time managing those other people and still wasn't actually getting the results that I needed. And then, of course, you have to spend time with this development during the downtimes, and probably spend more time on the client work during the uptimes, because you've got to get the business, and then finally you've got to be working on it. And if you are continuing to maintain your business development efforts, you're going out and taking meetings during the day, which means that you're spending time on client work either at night, on the weekends, what have you. And so how does that impact you? If you have a family, my wife would go nuts when I would have to work all the time on evenings and weekends. And when that became when that started to happen more and more and more, eventually it got to a point where I realized I wasn't spending time with my family. I wasn't spending time with my wife. I wasn't spending time doing the things that I wanted to be doing to live a fulfilling life. I was just working in the business, whatever that meant. And so and then of course your business suffers, whether you have late projects or missed deadlines, what have you. I mean, this is where things go particularly wrong. And so again, I want you to be honest with yourself here. Oh yeah, and what's worse, of course, you're losing money, right? You're not actually making the money that you should be making. You're not seeing the success where you should be seeing it. So you're losing you're losing money, and you're losing income. So now again, be honest. Does this sound like you? Because it does me, and I know this. I know this dilemma particularly well. So what if things were to change? Now, what if we could get off of that roller coaster and get off of that biz dev roller coaster and actually see some consistent growth in our businesses? All of a sudden, your life gets better now, right? You've got consistent business coming in. Your income continues to go up month over month, year over year, and so you're actually making more money, and you're able to send your kids to better schools, take better vacations, or just travel and live in a better house, what have you. You get to see your income go up. You can finally start to plan your time around work, just plan your work around your time instead of the other way around. Because trying to, as I'm sure we all know, trying to cram life stuff into work time can be difficult, to say the least. Whereas if you can develop a system where you can fit work stuff into your overall life, it becomes a lot more. Frankly, you become a lot happier. And again, I can tell you this because it happened with me. And then, of course, you have the money to take vacations, hang out with your family, and live your lifestyle that you want, that you enjoy. So how do we do this? How do we cure this consultant's dilemma? Now, excuse me, this is a system that I developed, that I started working on, that I kind of pulled together on my own. And so this is what I'm gonna talk a little bit about with to you here. And again, any questions that come along, please by all means raise your hand or ask some of the questions field there, and I'm happy to dive deeper into the system that I built if if I'm brushing over things at too high a level here. So the first thing that I did was I created a follow-up ranking system. So again, you go out to networking events, you're talking to people, and as you're doing so, you meet let's say you meet 5 or 10 people. Let's say keep it even numbers. So let's say you meet 10 people at each networking event that you go to. And so you've got a breakfast and you've got a happy hour and maybe a lunch in there scheduled in during the week. So out of those 3 networking events, you end up meeting and collecting taking business cards, exchanging business cards with 30 people over the course of the week. Now, you're going to have people that you definitely want to follow up with. You're going to have people that you want to follow up with because you think that there's a good opportunity there, and you're going to have a bunch of people that you don't necessarily want to follow up with at all, right? But what happens if you don't have an actual ranking system, you end up wasting a lot of your time drinking coffee and having meetings and sitting down with people who, I mean, realistically, again, they're not that they're not great people, not that they're not valuable people to have in your network, but they're not necessarily people who can realistically do business with you, or for that matter, even refer business to you. So, you don't necessarily want to blow them off, but you want to make sure that you're focusing your time in the right into the right areas. As a consultant, or a small business owner, as you well know, your time is the absolute most valuable thing that you have, most valuable currency that you have. You can always make more money. You can never make more time. So what I do, I use an ABC ranking for everyone that I meet. So A is the A ranking is there's some sort of a follow-up, we made the connection. There's a strong connection there, and we've decided that we definitely want to to meet again and have another conversation. The B ranking is this is a good opportunity. I think there's some value here. I think I might be able to do some business with this person, but we need to talk more to discover if there is. And then again, those C rankings are a great person, really enjoyed meeting them, but not really a great business contact. And again, when you go to networking events, you're there for business, right? That's an important thing to remember when you're doing this sort of thing. And then, of course, the R and G are just strong, for me anyway, again, strong referrals, strong referral partners, and then the G is just general networking, where it's not necessarily a strong referral partner, but this person is has such a stature and has such a presence that they are valuable to keep in the business network, and they are valuable to connect with. So that's how that's step one, is creating that ranking system so that you're able to manage your follow-ups appropriately. And then next step is that I automated my follow-up. So you want to be using some sort of a system to send some sort of a templated follow-up email to people after you've met them. Now, again, this is something that you can do with Outlook or Gmail. It's something that you can do with MailChimp. It's something that you can obviously do with Mission Suite, right, with our system. Doesn't matter what you're using, just use something. Create a templated email, something, because at the end of the day, every email that you send to follow up with somebody after some sort of an event, or after some sort of a business development meeting, boils down to, I think, 3 things. Nice to meet you. This is what, as a reminder, this is what I do, and this is why I think that we can connect. And how does the next when can we get together to talk more, right? So you don't necessarily need to create these individual emails every single time that you go out and you meet somebody. Now, are there ways to do that are easier than others? Absolutely. Again, using Outlook or Gmail, you can create the template, and then you still got to fill it in for everybody. But at least the template's there. For when it comes to as far as meeting dates are concerned, this is something that I started doing. I try people into Tuesdays and Thursdays for myself. Right, so I have standard set meeting days that I try to funnel people into. If it doesn't work, then we figure something else out. But at least I don't have to go and look at my calendar and say, oh, these are the exact dates. I get the flow started, because frankly it impresses people when you, again, the fortune is all about the follow up, right? Next thing is use a CRM. So again, with a CRM, some sort of a CRM system, and again, I mean, everybody knows about Salesforce. Everybody knows about, a lot of people are familiar with either Outlook or Gmail, and they all have great task systems that are engaged there. Mission Suite, like I said, uses engages a CRM. There are plenty of them out there that are free or cheap, or that range in functionality from just a basic CRM all the way up to well, far beyond that. But when it comes down to it, business development calls need to be made, right? Follow-up calls need to be made sometimes. If the email doesn't set the appointment with the person that you need to set the appointment with, then you got to make a phone call, right? So knowing exactly, knowing exactly when you need to make a phone call, who you need to call on what days. The key here is that business development calls are not overwhelming when they're coming in at 2 or 3 per day. When you have 2 calls to make every day, it's not an overwhelming thing, because even if it stacks up 3 days back, at the and you get super busy for 3 days, you're still only making 6 phone calls, right, or 9 phone calls, but you're not spending all day on the phone. On the other hand, when you have a stack of business cards that are 20 or 30 high, it becomes incredibly overwhelming, and that's when you look at it, you kind of shudder a little bit, you leave it on the corner of your desk, and then you continue to put more on top of it. So 20 to 30 becomes 30 to 40, it becomes 40 to 50. All of a sudden, you've got 100 business cards on there that are connections that you made that you probably spend money to make, but now they're worth next to nothing because you never followed up on them. So using a CRM to remind you when you need to do that, make those calls is important. And if you can automate that, it's even better. Now, email nurturing, and this is an interesting thing, because now when I talk about this a lot, people ask me all the time, well, I don't write emails, I don't do email marketing, I don't have an email marketing system, I don't have whatever. Email nurturing isn't necessarily about your own content. It doesn't have to be anyway. It can be, there's a pretty big movement in marketing right now that's all around content marketing and content curation specifically. And it's essentially using other people's content for your own purposes, right? I mean, giving them credit for it and, talking about them while you're doing so, but, maybe you find an article that you find interesting and you push it out to your email list with some commentary on it, asking for insight and asking if they have any questions on it, asking if they want to do anything. But with most email marketing systems out there, with most of them that are worth their salt anyway, that are worth the X amount of dollars that you're going to be paying for them every month, you should be able to connect to some sort of an RSS feed. And again, whether that RSS feed is your own blog, or maybe it's a series of RSS feeds that you're aggregating into one from, let's say, Inc.com and Fortune magazine and everything. Maybe you've collected this series of blog RSS feeds that you're able to that you're utilizing. You should be able to use that to send out articles, to send out email articles. Right? Again, give them credit where credit's due. Don't we're not talking about plagiarizing anything, but sending those types of emails out to your database is a great way to keep your name in front of them. And again, this is kind of a key thing for business development, because that email nurturing gets people thinking about you in the context that you want them thinking about you in. So, for example, if you're a business consultant, or you're maybe you're a small business owner that handles voice over IP telephone systems, maybe as a business consultant, maybe you want to use Inc.com and you want to use Fast Company and different feeds like that you can send people to, because you're trying to get them to relate your name, the name that pops up in your email from field in your email, the emails that you send, to this subject matter, so that when they think about the subject matter, they start thinking about you as well. Beyond, or for example, if you're the voice over IP guy, maybe it's it's a network, it's network security, maybe it's productivity, sales productivity, and ease of use, and things like that. So you've got articles, and you've got different magazines that talk about how to be more productive and successful and using communication technology to do that and become even stronger at it. So I'm going to tell you my story quickly. So again, as I said, I being a marketing consultant for a long time, I dealt with this often. Right? I would go to networking events. I would find whether it was a strategy project or maybe it was a website project or maybe it was just a longer-term deal where I was actually installed as a director of marketing into some of these companies startup companies that I would work with. I would go out, I'd do my networking and make my connections, and then because I wanted to make sure to serve my clients incredibly well, I would spend all my time working on that deal. I would spend, I mean, my networking would suffer. I wouldn't be making my follow-up phone calls, and I was the guy with a shoebox full, literally a shoebox full of business cards that were organized quite nicely, but they were organized in such a way that they weren't actually doing anything for me, right? And I had a CRM at the time, and I had, so I would, put, maybe I'd usually put people in there, but just a scattershot at best, and these things are only as good as the data that you put into them. So it wasn't just there was not much of anything that I was doing biz dev wise when I had a client. But then when that client engagement was over, which they all do, I'm a pretty firm believer that the goal of any good consultant is to work themselves out of a job. But when that, whatever that means for you, for that specific consultant, but whenever that engagement was over, all of a sudden I had nothing, and I had to start scrambling to find some new business. And there's an old saying in sales is that the worst time to try to find a new client, the worst time to try to make a sale is when you need to make a sale, right? So people can smell it on you. They can tell that you're in a position where you need to make a sale. You need to do something here. So, and this was what would happen to me over and over and over again. I would I'd get to a point where I had my next client, and then I'd do a great job for that client, but no business development in the background. So I would in turn end up at the bottom of the roller coaster again. And so this feast and famine thing became pretty trying and pretty cumbersome. And I tried all different sorts of things to end that, right? What I finally did, and this is where kind of the tide started to turn for me. What I finally did was I started writing. I hired a content writer, blog writer, to write one blog for me every week. And every week I would have a blog go up. And I would be using Mission Suite at the time. And I would use Mission Suite to automatically send out those blog articles once a week. Next thing you know, I had 2 or 3 phone calls coming in. Maybe, it wasn't like, don't get me wrong, so the phones weren't ringing off the hook, but I'd have a couple phone calls every month of potential new business projects, and if out of every 10 phone calls, that 10 inbound leads, you close 1 or 2 and grow up there. And so, but again, all of this networking that I was doing was going to waste, because I would make great connections and tons of people knew who I was, but I had a hard time getting to that first meeting and finding and sitting down with people who were interested in doing business with me, because I was still spending so much time working on those client deals that I couldn't get to that first meeting. So what I ended up doing is I created a follow-up system. I sat down one day. I sat down with my business cards, and that I'd collected from a networking event. I said, I wonder who here is actually worth sitting down and talking to, because before it was just everybody got an email. So I would sit down and I actually wrote down the business card, A, B, C, referral, general, kind of a thing, and organized it by that. And at the time, I would toss the C's because, again, I would see them at the next networking event, and we'd chat a little bit more, but we weren't going to be doing any business together, and we both understood that. So I would focus on the A's and B's and the referrals. But that left a lot of it left a lot of follow-up on the table. It left a lot of left a lot for me it was lacking a lot for me, because everybody wasn't getting an email anymore, and all of a sudden people started kind of it wasn't being recognized by as many people or remembered by as many people, which in this business is what I eventually started doing was created these follow-up emails, and I started automating. Excuse me, I started automating everything. And so now I got to a point where now every time I go to a networking event and I come back with my 10 business cards, I sit down and go through the same thing, and I separate them out of the files, and I create a new contact, assign it, and talk about what that first contact is, whether it's networking A lead, an A contact, B contact, C contact, etc. Created an email, templated email with a where we met placeholder that will automatically say, hey, it was great to meet you at this place, and those follow-ups are automated based on what I assign them. So in networking, A lead gets the A follow-up, the B lead gets the B follow-up, the C lead gets the C follow-up. And I still follow up even with those C leads. I'm not going to make a phone call to them thereafter, but I'll send them an email saying, hey, listen, it's great to meet you. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of opportunity for us to do business together. That said, just as a reminder, this is what I do. If you ever find somebody that is interested in having a conversation, I'm happy to talk to them. And here's my LinkedIn profile. If you if you'd like to meet anybody that I'm connected to on LinkedIn, shoot me a note, and I'm happy to make a connection. And then they go into the newsletter list. And I've had one or two of those C leads turn into something that's more into the B or the A category as well. So I mean, ignoring them, completely ignoring these people, what I realized was that they actually would end up doing myself a disservice, and doing if I do say so myself, doing them a disservice as well. So being able to follow up on that, being able to keep pushing forward here is and automate it all, and then for those A's and the D's, I'll get a reminder to make a phone call, because they're people that I definitely want to follow up with and schedule a meeting with. And so but I automated this entire system. Now all of a sudden I don't have a problem getting first meetings anymore with these people that I want to connect with. If they're an A or a B, I'm able to get a connection oftentimes off of that first email, and if not, then through the phone calls, because again, I get notifications to make maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 phone calls every day on a daily basis, and I can bang those out inside of 20 minutes, schedule a couple appointments, and then I get a chance to have a conversation, talk to somebody about their business, learn about their needs, and see if my business fits in with theirs as well. So it's incredibly useful. It's incredibly important to do this. And again, I obviously use our own system, Mission Suite, to do this, but there are other tools out there that you can utilize as well. So it doesn't matter if you, like I said, it doesn't matter if you're using MailChimp or Salesforce or there's plenty of them out there. I did name them all would take another hour, but it doesn't matter what you're using. Using it is the important. Just building a system like this is the important thing, and that's how we can cure the consultant's dilemma here. And it doesn't have to be that difficult. I mean, using that kind of unified marketing platform can align your sales and marketing efforts, so that when you're out there and you're working on this stuff and you're working on developing business, that your sales and your marketing efforts are actually working together. I mean, you may have looked at other platforms in the past, and again, I've named some of them: Salesforce, Infusionsoft, HubSpot, Marketo. All these are automated selling systems that you may have heard of or may have seen, but for pretty expensive, which makes it end up being cost prohibitive. But it doesn't necessarily have to be. Now I know that a lot of those systems that automate your business development efforts will. I mean, like I said, we're looking at $300 a month to upwards to $5,000 per month, depending on a number of factors. With with some of these lower cost platforms, like the $300 a month version of a certain competitor of mine, you end up in you get part of the automation process, but not all of it. So you've got to upgrade into whatever. And a lot of these these are monthly costs, and this is after a $2,000, $3,000 initial setup. It's, I mean, for a small business owner, for a solo consultant, you're probably not going to, not going to be willing to or to pay that, nor should you be, and because it doesn't have to be that expensive. Mission Suite is, and I mean, this is my plug here. Mission Suite is a perfect platform for consultants and solo entrepreneurs. We offer the same features, the same functionality of those systems. We're, we have more features and functionality than people like HubSpot or Keto, and that we have full CRM systems, and so we have the inbound marketing and the website builder and whatnot. And we're less expensive than all three of them, right? Than all of the systems that pretty much any other system that you may have seen. In fact, our pricing starts at $30 a month. $30 a month for, and granted, we price based on database size, so $30 a month is your kind of starter price for most small businesses, and up to, if you're strong for 500 contacts, that's where you're looking at. But it's based on database size, not users. So, for example, if you do have other people that are working with you, then you don't have to charge if they, or you don't get charged if they need access as well. So the last thing that I'll say is this is what we do, right? I mean, Mission Suite, we help small business owners, consultants, solo entrepreneurs to figure out how to create systems like this, and we help you figure out how to really develop your business development efforts so that you don't have to be thinking about it all the time. And we hold live demo webinars every Tuesday and Thursday. And I mean, you can take a look at our website. Obviously, you can see a lot of things, but the best way to see what we can do is by going to one of these live demo webinars. And the link to the demo webinars it's through, obviously, through our website. And it's so if you go to our website, it's under the resources link, and you'll see live demo webinars, and it'll take you to a page where you can sign up for the next webinar that fits in your timeline. I highly encourage you to do that. I'd love to see you on there. And when you do register, I'll send you a checklist of 25 things that you should start automating as soon as possible. And these are things that you may or may not have thought of, but they're things that you can do very, very easily with a good system in place. So with that, my contact information is up here. I'll be sending out a follow-up email with this, with the video recording of this as well. If you would like to see the slides, I'm happy to offer those to you as well. But before we wrap up, do you have any? Are there any questions on anything that we discussed, or anything that I touched on? Give a couple seconds here. That doesn't look like anything. Any questions are popping up here. Hopefully, that means I did a particularly good job describing the challenge and the solution here. Again, if you do have any questions, my contact information is here. I welcome phone calls, emails, if you'd like to speak. So with that, I will say thank you so very much for your time today, and I am hopefully looking forward to hopefully seeing you on a demo webinar sometime soon. So thank you very much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.